My name is Angela Seifert. I'm with Shiny Door. And one of the tools we're going to talk about today is Twitter groups. Everyone's familiar with Twitter? If you're not using Twitter, jump on twitter.com first, and then the Twitter groups will make more sense to you. Twitter groups is an aggregator. So it's a superb way to figure out who's on Twitter. A lot of the challenges that folks have with Twitter is you don't know who to follow, because it's not one of those magical, oh, here's a big list of who's on Twitter, and there's not an easy way to find folks. As you talk to anybody on Twitter, you'll find that. So Twitter groups is great because you find folks who are interested in specific issues that you're interested in. Folks who are in your region, moms, folks who love antiques, whatever it is, they're going to be on these lists, and they're going to be able to find who you want to find. Questions? Okay, then I'm going to keep going. Right, you cut that right out.
I do have a question. I just wasn't sure if you actually wanted me to ask it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can keep jumping in with stuff, but it's better to get questions.
Where is the data that's being used to decide how to segment?
This being decided, you mean
Yeah.
how are
Right.
folks?
Is it the feeds itself? Is it what's in people's profiles?
Gotcha. Okay. Folks sign up for Twitter groups, and it's very viral. So if you sign up for, Columbus Dads or something like that, then that's going to go out as a tag on your Twitter. And as your contacts see that, they sign up for Twitter Dads. So it's completely viral. We already have over 10,000 unique users, and it's totally been from viral distribution. And you can create a group yourself. So you could have a group for your church, for example. If you have a mom's group or something like that, you put it on there. But the way that you gain members, it's the viral nature of social networking that we all love. Great question.
So is there any connection between the groups there as well as maybe the groups on Meetup or different sites like that?
No. The only connector piece is with the Friend Connect. So if you're using Friend Connect in other places, then you can also use it here. One of the great things about Twitter groups itself is that we do not keep your username and password. So when you sign up for a group, you're signing up with it through your Twitter account. It's an API where we're pulling in that data, right? So we're not saving any of that on our own servers, which those who are concerned about privacy, it's very important. The benefit of this is really being able to find folks and then have conversations with them. So on each Twitter group page is anybody who signed up, it's all of their tweets. So it's a way to see what those particular folks are talking about in general. And then the additional feature that we're adding now is that when they tag it, you'll be able to look everything up with that particular tag in that particular group. And the other side of it is just to see whatever they posted, regardless of whether it has anything to do with being a mom, right? If it's on the Twitter Moms group, but it just has to do with what they're Twittering about, so you can learn who they are. And then you also determine whether or not you want to follow them. So maybe there's 60 people in that particular group, you may not want to follow everybody. So you make that choice the same way you make that choice in any other situation, which is going and looking at their bio and deciding whether or not you want to follow them. But if you do want to follow every mom in Columbus, for example, I don't know if you want to do that, then you just go through and hit all the follow buttons. Other questions?
If I want to tweet to go to a particular group, is there a way I can do that?
That's the tagging,
Okay.
right? And that's the feature that we're just now adding.
Okay. That's the £.
Right, with
Okay.
whatever tag that is, right?
Okay.
And a lot of them are, Brian, do you want to explain the tagging?
Well, we follow the existing tags that are already on Twitter, but when you create your own group, you can create a unique tag for it as well. It also aggregates some of the other sites that do follow the tagging, so you can jump to those sites to see updates in real time. You can also track the history that some of the other searchable sites have collected about that tag. So if you're in an existing group, Columbus Tech's probably a good example. You can go back and see what all the discussion was around different events and things like that.
So we go over what Brian just said, because I didn't repeat.
Well, to answer his question about the LinkedIn group,
Yeah.
you could create a Twitter group, link it to your LinkedIn group, and then invite all your friends on LinkedIn
Yeah.
to add their Twitter names to your list.
Because
Okay.
I mean, that seems to be one of the big challenges. I don't know if you guys come across it. There's so many different social media sites and whatnot. Just knowing where to go for what content and where to update different content.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big challenge for everyone.
And then I think, am I the one who has questions? Because I was curious.
We have another question.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of confused.
That's right.
So, I just want to make sure, so if I'm following somebody, if I look at a Twitter group, I can see everything they're posting, even though it might not have the hashtag about that specific topic, correct?
Yeah, if
both.
they-
Be the
well,
benefit.
if they join the group, you're
Right,
gonna see all of their tweets,
right.
right?
Even if they're not using like the hashtag for Tech Columbus.
Right, exactly.
Perfect, okay.
That's a great way to define it. And then the additional feature that we're just now adding is that if they do add the hashtag and they're in the group, you're defining very specifically who you want to look at regarding that particular issue. Okay?
So just to be clear,
Yes.
if someone's coming out of the blue and they want to know within 30 seconds or less, what is your unique offering that makes you different from everybody
Okay.
else?
The biggest unique offering is having folks who have a similar interest in one spot. Okay. Twitter is great, but it's also everywhere, right? So you have to determine how you use your time. Your time is valuable. So if you're going to devote a certain number of minutes or hours, whatever it is, to Twitter per day, then you have to decide how you're going to do that. So one of the ways to limit how it is that you use Twitter in order to get the most value from it is to find a particular group that you think that what they are offering is of value. Do you want to follow each of them? That's completely your decision, and you'll decide whether or not that's a valuable use of your time. But for certain individuals and how they use Twitter, it's more value to them to go to a spot where specific folks are using those, or are in a specific industry or issue area, and to see what it is that they are saying in their tweets and to keep up with them that way. And it's also to find out who you want to follow, because that's a big issue. One of the greatest strengths of Twitter groups is that we have geographic regions. So if you're looking for folks in Columbus, you go to the Columbus group and you find folks there. You're going to, you know, Louisiana for a job interview or whatever. Go check the city that you're going to, start connecting to those folks, and then you're going to be able to make those connections before you even hit town.
It's interesting, what you're describing to me sounds like laying something on top of Twitter that is almost creating message boards
Yes.
that are either geographically or topically driven, and then instead of using a message board thread, you're using the Twitter posts, which are then sliced and diced in various ways. So to your point, if you just want to keep in touch with single moms living in Bexley,
Right.
then you could break that down.
Exactly.
Right? Instead of having to create a ultimate bulletin board Bexley Moms group, you can just go onto Twitter and aggregate the feed through and segment it down and go, this is
That's a very good
Bexley
description.
single moms.
Thank you.
And that analogy actually might add a little bit of credence to the value of the question that's been going through my mind, that I was thinking, maybe this really isn't important, but in that context, Dave, maybe it is. And that is, what kind of moderation is there on the Twitter?
Okay. No moderation, right? That's kind of the beauty of all these tools, right? What comes across is what people put across. The difference between a Twitter group and your own Twitter is that you cannot control who's in the Twitter group, right? Unless you are the owner of that group, and there's other settings. But in general, if you're just a user of that group, you're going in, you're seeing what's there, and then if you want to tweak it, then you do that tweaking in your own Twitter. You don't do it in the group, right?
Is twin groups like
Still a time on it.
Okay.
used to?
Maybe too, you can talk a little